from what my reading of the exam is, that the subject matter is not too difficult and the questions in themselves aren't too difficult. The way that it is paced and the way that it wants to trick you and make you fall for the almost correct answer,
Right.
that is where you have to excel. In GMAT, if you focus too much on one question, or you take it personally,
Right.
that how can I not do this question, right? Then the exam is defeating you.
Right.
There's only 45 minutes, and let's say you stuck on question one or question two, and you look up and the time now says 39 or 38. It says something in the 30s. Then you think to yourself, oh shit, right? I have let go of a lot of time.
Congratulations, you finally got a 99 percentile, a 705 in your GMAT score, and the breakdown of the score looks like this: 94th percentile in quant. You've got 87 in quant, same in verbal, 87 in verbal, but it's a 99 percentile. While in data insight, it is 81 score, so got a 90th percentile. So when you got this score, were you happy? Were you disappointed that you could do better, or what was it? Because then I know a bit of your background. I'm just guessing, but let me hear it from you.
To be honest, I figured out that as you give, the mock test, not just to the GMAT, but for any exam, for me, the numbers are very comparable to my last mock test in any exam that I give. So I kind of knew that, my prep level was at around 705, 725, 99 percentile, high 99, low 100. So,
Right.
and as I was giving the paper, I got the feeling, okay, this might touch a 725 at best, but yeah. So
Right.
when I got the score, I kind of knew, okay, like this was the score, but happy, to be honest, when I started the prep, when I joined Sandeep sir's class, this was when I didn't know much about the focus, right?
Right.
And it was just about to be a thing. And I think I joined I inquired about in August of last year, and I joined in August, September, I joined the November batch.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was
October of last year.
yeah, I think that was the second focus batch.
Right.
Yeah. So, we didn't have a lot of background on it and stuff like that. And at that time, I was thinking, maybe a 785, 775, that kind of a score. And, but as you give the mocks and, it becomes clear that where you are right now.
No, even back at the time, GMAT, in fact, the scoring was also not very clear. Then,
Mhm.
after maybe January or February, then the comparison table was brought into place where what a 717 Classic Edition looks
Yeah.
like and what is its equivalent here. And so the reality comes in play. Right. So that has been a case. Now, before we, plunge into your preparation, just give us a little background because you definitely came in as a fresh graduate last year. And so how did it entirely, the GMAT and MBA come into play, and why right now that you wanted to give the exam? What's your plan? And then we'll dive deeper into the exam point.
Sure.
Yeah.
Uh, I've graduated from BETS Pilani here in Hyderabad, and I've been working here since. And management was something I always wanted to get into. I even took like 4 or 5 management courses at my undergraduate
All right.
as some extra credits, and just to see if I like the concept, if it is something that I would be interested in going forward.
Correct.
And I like the concepts, and I was performing well in those management subjects, so I thought, okay, this is something that I could do,
Right.
right? And obviously, aiming for like the top schools, you have to have a great GMAT score. And the thing with me is I do not have a stellar CGPA because I have like a 7.5.
Okay.
And like you are very good if you have like 8.5, 9. So you're sorted in that. So I knew that I had to have to make up with my GMAT score and everything else. So I heard of top 1% because a lot of my friends are also enrolled in this, and I saw the YouTube videos, and you see all the testimonials, and there's a very, very high rate of 99 percentilers among your crop. So yeah, I joined in, but I quickly realized how difficult it is to manage a job and prep. Uh, and my work being in US East Coast timings doesn't help.
Hmm. Okay.
So yeah, so I had to manage that as well. And I think our syllabus was everything was covered by Feb, around early Feb.
Right,
So I was aiming for like an April attempt,
right,
but I gave a few mocks and I realized, okay, I'm not where I think I should be.
right,
I was getting early 600s in my attempts, and that was not the score at all that I was going for. And I know that if I'm getting this in the mock, I might get, on the exam day, you have a lot of factors. So you have to have a certain, I would say, cushion in your mock scores, right? So on top of that, a lot of work stuff. So I had to keep delaying my attempt.
yeah,
To that effort, I also like got an extension from top one. So that was
yeah.
really helpful.
So,
And yeah, I mean, I don't remember the exact month, but maybe in March, maybe in April, Sandeep sir took a session. It was not a class. It was more of a what to do before the attempt, and he was like advising us. And he had this. I think I still have screenshots from then. Yeah, let me
right.
just see. Yeah, this is
You tell
yeah,
yourself what is your, score that you would like to be getting.
yeah, yeah.
That's one of the things.
Yeah, yeah. So he has all these like one page plan for RC and one page plan for CR,
Correct.
what to do before the exam and all. And yeah, so I knew that I have to do this, and I knew that if I don't set an exam date, I'm just going to push this further around. So I set an exam date. I started up to prep, and yeah, and scores kept improving in the mocks, and I got a 705 just the night before the exam on mock on the official GMAT mock, and then I got the 705 on the exam day.
On the exam day. Wonderful. So when you initially started, you spoke to Priyansha, and
Yeah,
again, all going back to why live classes versus why self-paced course. And I have to ask you this also. But then you mentioned that there is discipline being an issue every time, and so that's the reason why you chose live classes over self-paced. And then yet you took a little longer time to complete because maybe I'm again guessing because you mentioned that there was work to come in
yeah,
where you had to start working after you
yeah.
graduated. So that also perhaps, and the time, of course, the
Mhm.
work timing as well.
Yeah,
So, but if you go back and look back at the time that you started the live classes, did you do it in a similar disciplinary way? At least you know that live classes are controlled by Sandeep. So, did you give it all when it was there, or did you
yeah,
do something?
yeah.
And if
A
you
lot
did,
of the
what
times,
exactly happened? Yeah,
yeah, I am. So a lot of the times, I'm being honest, I wasn't able to do a lot of the post work, but I made sure that I did all the pre work before. Because if you don't do the pre work, there is no huge point in going to the class because that is what is being discussed. And if you don't know what is your attempt at a question before knowing what like sir is telling you,
right,
then you don't know like what is your initial thought and how it has changed after a class.
right,
So, pre-work I always used to do, and a lot of the times I couldn't do post-work, and there was like a good after the classes got over, there was a good month or 2 months gap where I wasn't able to practice at all, and yeah, I feel that hindered uh, my approach a bit
mm,
because you kind of lose momentum and you lose that uh, way of thinking. What I think about the GMAT exam is because I've given my fair share of like entrance exams with every engineering and entrance exam. I've also given the CLAT,
right,
and yeah. So from what my reading of the exam is that the subject matter is not too difficult, and the questions in themselves aren't too difficult. The way that it is paced and the way that it wants to trick you and make you fall for the almost correct answer,
right,
that is where you have to excel.
right,
And because every time I gave a mock, I used to analyze it. Okay, this many questions have gone wrong, and I realized that there was no question that went wrong that I couldn't do
right,
if I had 5 or 10 minutes for that question.
right,
So it is application in that very moment.
right.
Yeah. So I guess yeah.
The mocks would have not come so early on in your preparation. So when you were in the first initial preparation, what is
Yeah.
it that you incorporate? Did you do exactly what sir said? Did you incorporate something different? Did you leave out something else? If you look back, what exactly would you be, saying that something stood out very, very evidently through your preparation? This is learning phase, and then of course slowly you incorporated the mock test, or did you incorporate the mocks in the
No,
preparation
not
phase?
even beginning. I gave my first mock, I think, in March or April only. So
Right, quite
yeah,
a little, yeah,
yeah,
quite
quite
some
late.
time from the time that you
No, no,
started.
no,
Yeah,
no, no. Initially, Natasha, I would say just the way to think and the exam approach. In GMAT, if you focus too much on one question, or you take it personally,
right,
that how can I not do this question, right? Then the exam is defeating you.
right,
There's only 45 minutes, and let's say you stuck on question one or question two, and you look up and the time now says 39 or 38. It says something in the 30s. Then you think to yourself, oh shit, right? I have let go of a lot of time,
right,
right?
right,
And sometimes, like when sir used to give us solutions to our pre-work, uh, he talked about approach a lot, and he talked about how there is no point in taking a question personally,
right,
and there is no point thinking, okay, why wasn't my answer the correct answer? You have to
correct,
think why the correct answer is the correct answer,
correct,
right? So yeah, that helped a lot because uh, I think more than the teaching, what counts is how well does a person know the format. And I think Sandeep sir knows the format inside out. And so to gather that, because if I'm being really honest, we're not here to learn math or English, right? We
right,
are here to get our best score in this exam.
right.
So getting that mentality in and knowing how to approach my studies, yeah, that was very eventful for me.
Perfect, perfect. So after the classes were complete, you definitely had a little break from the
Yeah.
time. Yeah. So how did you cope up? Because this is generally, typically, I could say 70-80% of the students, they have a break. They would not anticipate when they start off. The ideal situation is to be able to give the GMAT within 3 months of you starting. So how easy or difficult was it to come back again to studying and then, pick the pace up and then finally, take marks and subsequently give your exam?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it was. See, it's always difficult to do something that is pulling you out of your comfort zone. If you're doing a job, if you're not doing a job, anything becomes a habit. People fall into routine. You have routine. I have a routine, and to study for an exam is obviously breaking away from that routine and making a new one. Mm, I always have wanted to do a great postgrad and get into a great college and you know giving the GMAT and getting a great score is the first step to getting there. And just a real personal thought that I can't keep pushing this on for too long. And even if I don't get a great score in the first attempt, I have to go first attempt. And uh, I just had an a thought, and I booked the exam 2 months from that date. And I was like, okay, if I don't give myself a date, I'm just going to push this forward. And yeah, I felt like I had to do it. So
Right. Okay. So then so your own self motivation really helped you kick in and then
yeah.
get started. While you were giving the mocks, the top mock portal are quite difficult.
Yeah.
And what was your first mock score that you got? And then
Yeah.
that's where you could like really shake up and say, okay, well, I need to, buckle
Before
up.
the top one portals, I gave a mock that was from a site called, I think, eGMAT. I just searched up GMAT mock on Google, and it came up the first link, and I clicked it and I gave it. I think they have one free GMAT test, right?
Right.
And this was back in April or something, and I got a 705.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is great. I got 705, and I'll get like 2, 3 weeks prep. No, I'll get 755. It's okay, it's
Right.
sorted. But that because it was a free test, so I think the quality of questions there was a bit easier now.
Right.
So when I started my actual top one mock test prep, the first score I got was, I think, a 615.
Right.
Yeah. So and then I got to know that, okay, this is like a huge discrepancy between a 705 and 615. So let me try one more test again. Maybe this test I have messed up and I'll just do better on this. I got a 615 again
Right.
on second test. So then I thought, okay, this means that my preparation is inadequate. This
Right.
is not a one test thing. And from then on, I kept on seeing my mistakes and reviewing them. Is it a concept issue? Is it a silly mistake issue? Or maybe I'm not timing myself right, stuff like that. And sometimes the test numbers went up. 695 also I got, but sometimes even with more prep, they went kept going down. Like you wouldn't believe me, but like 10 days before the attempt, I got on mock test number 6. I got a 565.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So and I was like, I cannot get 565 because I know I am that well off now in the
At least
preparation.
advanced in your preparation,
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
something good. And when you look back on the analysis, what did you see?
I saw that. I would say 1 month before my attempt, I knew the answers to every question. The
Right.
only answers I wasn't able to give, or the only wrong answers were because of silly mistakes and timing issue, or like maybe I missed a word here or there. If I reread the question again, if I had 5 minutes, I could answer every question. So at that time, I felt that I was pushing myself too much. Coming home late at night from work and giving a test until the morning. I thought maybe I needed to relax for a bit, step back. So I didn't give another test for like good 5 days. I just went around to walk, went around to the gym, just cleared my head. And then I gave another attempt. This was the official practice one test from GMAT itself, and I got a 665. Then I got a 695 on the mock portal on top one, and then a 705 on the GMAT official.
Official. Okay. And so, with regard to the entire doubt support, right?
Mhm.
Did you write to the faculty? Did you get a
Yeah,
chance to
yeah,
ask any questions or
yeah.
strategies?
To be honest, I only asked one doubt. I think if you even check, I have only mailed them once. And because, as I said, to be honest, as I saw the answer sheet to my question marks or attempts, or even the sectional tests, and it said option B instead of option C, and I looked at the question again, and I attempted it again, then I could solve that it was C. So I did not have a conceptual problem at that
Right.
time. So I didn't feel the need to text for
Asking.
doubts.
Okay, okay. And so these were, the test steps that Sandeep sir has told that do this, this, this. What is one thing or more than one thing that you bring to table that you have made an extra push? Like you said, you just took a step back and in retrospect, right? You kind of just saw it from another angle and then try to change. So what are the few things that you would say that you motivated yourself? You changed a bit in your personal giving, right? Not exam point of view, maybe you took some time off to cool off and then come back again, whatever that is. Some 2, 3 points that you would like to highlight during your GMAT preparation that helped you.
See, I have always had touch with this. I mean, something that I feel about myself. I've always had a good grasp over language, so I've been able to do. I able to have a good verbal score in any exam. So verbal was never a point of issue for me because even in the pre-works, initially, like very initial November, I used to get almost all questions correct in the pre-work, and uh, maybe a few wrong here and there. So, but I did not make verbal a huge part of my prep because I know what performance is there, and I focus that's why on the quant and the DI sections. Quant is something that I had to focus on because I have been naturally not that good at quant, at math in general, even though I come from like a tech background. So, but it's my effort that have got me here, not my innate ability. So I always have to brush up in quant. So for quant, I'd say what I did differently was just try and get myself more time.
Right.
And especially because I knew that I was reading those questions too fast, making a silly mistake. So I try and get some extra time after my attempts so that I could review those questions. And even in the actual GMAT, in quant, I reviewed 3 questions and got all of them right. I changed
Right.
3 answers, all incorrect to correct. So that worked for me.
Okay.
And similar for DI, I would say what we need is to like increase speed a lot because if you do not have 6-7 minutes left after you've finished attempting all those questions in a section, it just rushes you more, and that's what the exam wants.
Right. So in the exam, that's on your test day, right? What is the order of sections that you chose based on your weak or
Yeah,
strong areas? Did you go with that, and why?
yeah,
And
yeah.
the second follow-up question is that in through each of the section, how did you advance through? Were there any section that seems like I don't understand this question or the time is running out, something like that happened?
Yeah. I started with quant, then verbal, then DI. Uh, the idea was to get fresh into quant because I need my brain functioning at the very best in quant because I think it's a weak point for me.
Right.
So, and in quant, that's why I got only one question wrong from all of
Was it in the
those.
first 12 itself?
No, no, it was I think the 18th or it was in the latter ones.
Right. Okay.
Got one question wrong. So yeah, that's why I focus on that. Verbal, I knew that I do not need a break for this,
Yeah.
so I put it second and with no break.
Right.
So, because I could just get in there, and verbal for me, to be honest, is like a break in itself because I always finish it up real quick, and even after review, I have like 2-3 minutes left, so I can psych myself up. Then I had the break to recover, and then DI.
DI. How many questions in DI did you get wrong?
DI got a lot of them wrong. DI I got 5 wrong. I think even if I had gotten like 3 of them correct, I would have got 100% right.
You would have increased another 10, 20 points easily. Perfect. So now in terms of any questions that you took time in the exam, especially DI, but any question, because when you practiced enough, right? Any question that seems like, oh, well, I don't know, or you spent a lot of time in the exam?
Mm, not as such. Uh, I made a point even from my last 3 or 4 mocks just never to spend more than 2 minutes 30 seconds
Right,
because there are a lot of questions that require that kind of time. If you give some mocks and you see solutions to some questions, it's like a two-page solution, and a person would have to spend 5 or 6 minutes. So if you're getting that question right, you're doing it at the expense of another.
right,
So I made a point to stick to my 2 minute 30 second time limit for each question,
right.
and if I see this is a question that might take more time, I'll just flag it and review it later.
Right. So the other question that I had was in terms of uh, overall experience, if I have to tell, if you look back, what are the do's and what are the don'ts that you would say in your exam? That, if you go back and just say that these are the things, even if you want to change, perhaps, what are the do's and don'ts in through your preparation and in the exam?
Yeah. I would say the do's are to get your core syllabus finished as soon as you can
Mm,
because the real prep starts after you know how to handle the exam.
right,
Because yeah, the syllabus, the understanding the concept part is not that deep, and because we've had harder in terms of concept, in terms of knowing your subject matter, we've had harder undergraduate exams. I
right,
think this was again the GMAT.
right,
So the key is to get your syllabus done quickly, get all of your basics correct, and the second do is to improve your accuracy. It
mm,
does not matter if you get 10 questions correct, but it took you like 50 minutes. The time is up. And I would say the biggest don't is not to have a gap. Because I've had that gap and I know how like difficult it is to push yourself to get back into prep again. And I would say the second don't is uh, just just not to take any exam pressure on that day because that is what the paper wants. That is what GMAT wants for you to lose your marbles.
right.
And anyone who is resolved and like let's say confident in their ability, and
The
that confidence can
preparation,
really come from like good mock scores and good prep.
prep.
That okay, even if I get like 2 questions wrong, okay, I can get a good streak of 15 correct in the next one.
Right. The clarity should be there, and that comes with evidently it comes with the amount of practice that you've
Yeah.
done in throughout. Once you're confident with that, then you can go with a good mindset. Amazing. So, what next for you? Are you applying this year itself, or will you give it a wait and then choose to apply? Because clearly you mentioned you want to apply to the top B schools.
Yeah.
So,
I'm waiting because I wanted to give the GMAT early because the work pressure just keeps on increasing every time, and I was a fresher last year, and now I am a much needed resource at my work. In 2 years' time, it would be even more.
Critical, you
So
would say.
even though
Critical.
like yeah, even though the top colleges do require like 4 years, 5 years work ex, I do not know if I would have the time or honestly the academic push that I've carried from my college to
Right.
give the exam that time. I'm thinking of a reattempt.
Okay.
Yeah, because of my CGPA, I think I would want to get a safer 100 percentile score
Right.
because as the average changes per year, the percentile would also change. So now 735 is the border of 100 percentile.
Right.
But let's say if you are a 735, by the time I apply, it might not be 100 percentile.
Right. Okay.
So I'm aiming for a score that would ideally stay at 100 percentile.
Right. So approximately you would apply around 2, 3 years from now. That's
Two or
the
3 years from now.
and
Yeah.
any particular schools that you're looking at.
I want to get into Harvard. Harvard is like my dream college. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. I hope that happens very soon.
Thank you,
I'm going
Nana.
to just connect separately because then I have to apologize for not doing this earlier today. But then thank you so much for sharing in all your thoughts. And I hope, the Howard dream comes true.
Yeah.
And any help that you need in order to fulfill or take a reattempt, please just get in touch. We are so happy that we were a part of this journey with you.
Yeah.
We are an enabler for you to be, getting into a bigger school, and then,
Yeah.
you have so much more to do and achieve. Until then, you can really focus more on how your profile should look like, to shine through the Harvard resume. And any other help, please feel free to get in touch with Priyansha, with me. We'll stay connected. All right. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. And I must tell you, if it's not for, I mean, it's coming from the entire team, including him. A big congratulations, and we're already very proud of this 99 percentile score. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for letting us be a part of this journey for you. Thank you so much again. Have a good
Thank you,
night.
Natasha.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Goodbye.